Also, Henry said the cover was, quote, terrifying. What is that lady doing? He said.
She's being sultry.
Yeah. He's like, does she think she can eat that? And then he was like, let's leave it this way. And he turned it over.
That's awesome.
You should have seen the inside.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Caitlin.
And this is Sharon.
And welcome to Real Housewives on Real Housewives, where we unravel housewives' story threads and keep the tea flowing.
So chic.
Hold on to your reading glasses.
Today we're digging into My Word. It's the book written by Gizelle Bryant about a woman named Ginger who is married to a mega church pastor. She finds out he's cheating, and she has to decide if she wants to stay with him and keep her place in the community as the first lady of the church, or leave his cheating butt and move on.
Now, see, when you say it, I want to read it. But
Yeah,
this alleged fictional account, let's say it leaves some drama to be desired, which you wouldn't expect from Gizelle, the queen of drama.
Yeah. But first we have to talk about...
Yes.
We're going to start on a happy note.
Okay. What was the best part of the book?
Should I say that?
Yeah.
And then I wrote, nothing. This might literally be the worst book I ever read.
I'm like, wait, the happy part must be on page 2. Hang on.
Well, and here's the thing. Okay, like I know we've read other books, like Kyle's book.
Yes.
That book made me mad, but it got me fired up.
Yes, there was at least something
sexist.
to do with the annoying part.
Right. This book was just boring.
Yeah, it was like, what do you do with the anger?
I was like, it was so boring. I didn't care.
Yeah, no. It wasn't enough to get you fired up to have an opinion.
Yeah, and there was no redeeming qualities. Wasn't written well, et cetera, et cetera.
No, I don't feel like it added anything to my life. There was no hot tea.
No hot tea.
I wrote, this is the worst book I've ever read. And I feel bad saying that because I like Gizelle. And like when you read the back, if I read the back of the book, I would think I might want to read it. Mm-hmm. I did not want to read it while reading it. All right, there's a very thin line between best and worst here, I guess.
What's the worst part of the book? What didn't you like? Or the iced tea?
Well, Sharon, that would be every part of the book.
Yes.
It's poorly written, which is weird because I initially thought, well, maybe there's no ghostwriter. So that's the problem because not everybody's a writer or an author. But I went back to the episode where she read it out loud to the girls and she did a terrible job reading it out loud. And Monique said she needed a ghost reader along with a ghost writer.
It's hilarious.
Which is awesome. But she said in that episode that she had a ghostwriter. So she needed a better ghostwriter. Sorry, ghostwriter. I'm sure you're lovely. And then what's really interesting is that Karen said, and I think she hit the nail on the head before she'd even read the book. Karen said, as your friend, I'm concerned that you're writing this and it is so close to what happened to you in your real life. How are the readers going to be able to distinguish fact from fiction?
Yeah, I found that very confusing.
It was very confusing. In fact, I just assumed it was all fact, to be perfectly honest.
I did too, because it's about the woman is Ginger, and she's
Gizelle as you're reading
and she points out she has hazel eyes. You know, she points out these very specific things.
Yeah, you picture her ex-husband as you're reading it. I mean, it's nuts. Like,
but then the one thing that is different, it seems like she put it in more present time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay, that's
because
true.
There would be like Uber and some things that I'm like, is that
brought
the only
it forward
fictional part? I don't
exactly. That's where she decided to bring in the fiction,
make herself younger. I don't know.
Exactly. It's more wishful fiction than actual fiction. And like we were saying, did she not want to be sued? Like, was she trying to say to her ex-husband, I didn't out you. I didn't embarrass our marriage because you know what? This isn't really us. This is like us to the extreme. Yeah. But it wasn't extreme enough to be them to the extreme. Like there was no extreme. It was a boring read. And you feel like you've heard this story before. Someone cheats. Someone else's life is ruined. It sucks. But like we've heard that, like what makes your story different?
It is. It was
nothing.
Extremely predictable.
Yes.
And cliche.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the problem. It's like, it was slow, predictable cliche.
Yes.
So not only did we knew where it was going, so that's bad enough. Yeah. And then it was going there so slowly.
Right.
That I couldn't stay awake.
Yes, exactly. It was like the train just wouldn't go into an interesting station.
Because really, not much happens.
No. And you can guess where it's going.
Yeah. She marries him. Mm-hmm. They build the church. He cheats.
They unbuild it.
Yeah, she leaves. That is like the whole book.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's a little
seconds.
like internal like, ooh, should she leave? Shouldn't she leave? But like, she's going to because of the way it's written.
Yeah.
And what we've seen happen in Gizelle's life on Real Housewives of Potomac, right?
And the other thing, what did you think of the characters?
Yeah, they were...
for being so close to real people, they were awfully one-dimensional.
Right. What's interesting is I think Gizelle, I really like Gizelle. I think she's fun. I think she's colorful. I think she's different. This version of her, I mean, if you were going to write yourself, wouldn't you make yourself more interesting? It's like she made herself less interesting.
And the beginning,
why?
It's like such a stereotype. She's like the oblivious girl that doesn't notice that her best friend is totally hot,
right,
and falls in love with her. And then she's got this spunky best friend who's, flirting with guys, but the guys want Ginger, the quieter one. It's like, it almost reminds me of
green eye.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Robin.
It sort of reminded me of like Twilight, where she's like, oh, he likes me. Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Or it's like, what is it? Is it she's all that? I was like, she takes off her glasses and she's sexy.
And she pretty much makes everyone in the book out to be a bad person, except like her and her sister and a friend too.
Yeah, which I think leaps us ahead to one of our further questions. But like, how honest do you think the author was? Like, I can't decide because a part of me thinks pretty honest. Except that she wanted to like change some detail. It's like the names have been changed to protect the innocent. It kind of feels like that. Like
I just don't understand.
She couldn't even bother to change the eye color.
I know.
She used herself on the cover of the book. I mean, come on. Like, it's you. It's like she just
But there's a hat covering half her face. Maybe it's not her.
Maybe it's not her. It's like maybe she just wanted people to like not get angry at her. Like, she's such a people pleaser secretly that she was just like, guys, it's fiction. Like, I'm not brave enough to produce an autobiography. I mean, that feels a little mean to say, but I'm not brave enough to produce an autobiography.
Then don't produce an autobiography.
But then if I did a fiction version, I would make myself seem so cool.
Well, this is like such a thinly veiled autobiography. It's like
the line is a very thin Bible page of paper. Okay, how long did it take us to finish this book?
Okay,
did you force yourself to read it? Or you couldn't put it down?
I forced myself. It took me 2 nights, and the only reason it took me 2 nights is because I had to finish it because we're going to do this podcast. Yeah, and I kept texting Caitlin, "I hate this book. It's so boring. I hated this book."
No, I mean, I felt the same way. I read it before we were even doing the podcast, so a couple of years ago after I watched that episode of Real Housewives of Potomac, and I thought, oh, this is going to be really fun. I like Gizelle. Like, this will be interesting. And it was none of those things. I forced myself to read it. I skimmed it because I didn't think I'd ever have to talk about it to anybody.
You thought you'd never have to see
I'd never have to see this book again. I actually got mad at Sharon when she was like, go get it from the library again. I was like, no. And you know what's embarrassing? This is now on my library card twice. And like a couple years apart. It's like, she liked it so much, guys, she's reading it again.
Well, since Caitlin had the one from the library, I got the Kindle one. And that's embarrassing too.
Sharon owns it. But good news is she can read it whenever she wants. So you're like, what are you doing? Oh, just rereading Gizelle.
Yeah, just some good bedtime reading.
Well, if you can't sleep.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be a use for this somewhere, right? Okay. Were there parts of the book that you thought were disturbing?
Yeah, a bunch. Okay, so one of the things that really, really bugged me is how rich the pastors are.
Yeah.
And how they're all made out to be like cheaters. Mm-hmm. But it's almost like the pastors just can't resist these women throwing themselves.
Like, it's not their fault.
Yes. Yeah. It's like these women are all coming after them. Yeah. Are all thirsty for them.
Those poor pastors.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like they're blaming the pastors enough.
Right. Because it seemed like she shouldn't marry a pastor because she's like looking for that trouble.
Yeah.
And that's not fair either.
It's like, why are all these women going to church going after pastors? Why are the pastors cheating with all the women?
Right.
Why are they so rich?
Right.
I mean, I understand that there's like a lot of, money from the congregation, but it still seems a little weird to be like crazy rich think so too. From being a pastor.
Yeah.
And then they're like big celebrities in their community. Right. I didn't know that being the wife of a mega pastor, I didn't know that was such a big deal.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Did you think anything was disturbing?
So I felt like the narration was disturbing because for one thing, it's confusing. You're not sure what's her and what isn't. So there's that. And then it's like the narration was this drawn out thing where it was like leading the witness on trial. It was like nobody was like straight up asking for an answer.
Yes.
Like, now I forget how long was mom living in Dallas or whatever it was. And,
Yes.
and then it's like, why not just say mom lived wherever it was for this length of time? Like, I don't understand why we have to follow you down this path of getting the answers. Like, it's not like as a journalist, it's not like you publish always the whole interview because like that's so boring. There's moments where you have to get that information out. Like we don't need to see you doing that. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then I'm going to read a little dramatic reading of it. Please do. Because it's going to illustrate my next point. But
I'm ready.
Okay. It was just a kiss. But it was a kiss that had reached my soul and discombobulated. There's a sexy word. My entire being. I closed my marketing in the new digital age textbook, glanced around the library and sighed. A check of the clock on the wall showed that I'd been at this for about an hour, and I hadn't read one full page when this textbook was from my favorite class.
That's how long it takes me to read a page of this book.
Okay, but my point is, her details are so unnecessary. It doesn't matter what textbook you are reading. It doesn't matter how long you were not reading it.
You're right. Like, you put the nail on the head because I was like, she's writing all these details, like trying to be descriptive, but like, it's not working. And that's why you're right, because it doesn't matter. It's like not a relevant detail. It doesn't enrich it.
That's the word.
It's like, I don't care. You were in college. I don't care that it was marketing in the digital age written by so-and-so. You know, it's like.
And actually that threw me off because like, and when you were saying she brought it into the current era, because I actually underlined it for a second and I was like, wait, when did she go to school? Because I took PR in college and we didn't have any like digital age. Like no one was pretending, like we weren't that far advanced. So it's like, I was like, wait a second, like she's older than me, right? And so again, it's confusing because it's her on the cover, it's her on the, and then she's like pretending that she's 20 again.
Yeah.
Like I'm not buying that either.
Oh, I do have a quote also to illustrate the writing. So Jeremy says to her, "Remember when I told you it was going to be a hell of a ride with me?" Mm-hmm. Gizelle says, "Yeah." Or Ginger, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says, "Buckle up, baby. We're about to take off."
You feel like that was like Tom Cruise in what's the airplane movie? Top Gun.
No, it's so bad. Oh,
hang on to your reading glasses.
We're about to take off.
We're about to take off.
This podcast. So, Caitlin, what makes this book unique besides the fact that it sucks?
Okay, that causes me a little bit of a pause.
It could be unique good or unique bad. I don't know.
Means that you want to read it. But, okay, I think that you have to respect that she went for fiction because most of the housewives have gone for biography. In fact, I would say the overwhelming majority have gone for a biography. So the fact that she did a fiction book, like initially that's what drew me to want to read it because I thought, well, that's really different. It's not just somebody's life story. But then at the same time, it's not unique because you can't guess which parts are true and which parts are false. Like, you know my good friend Neil Patrick Harris? That's that. Yeah. Takes us back to the first episode. NPH. So he has this like choose your own autobiography. And it's kind of funny because you flip between pages and stuff. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure. But it's all true except for when it's not, and then it's hyperbole. Like it'll be like, oh, and then something tragic happens at the end. But it's like, it's really clear what is real and what is not. Her book is not. It's just so hard to tell. So even though she put herself out there in writing fiction, she needed to go more fiction, or more biography. But you can't just like not take credit for your own life.
Oh, that's a really good way to say it. Like you can't just put it out there, be like, I didn't say it.
Yeah, but
it's kind of like I wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
No, you're right.
It was Ginger, my alter ego. And then when her ex-husband's like, did you write a book about me? She's like, no, I wrote a book about Jeremy. Is your name Jeremy?
She just looks like me.
She just looks like me, sounds like me. And her ex-husband did the exact same things you did, but it's totally different.
So did anything surprise you about the book?
Okay. So the only thing that surprised me is I read this cheat sheet article, and the book was released in April 2019. And it said, my word reached #1 on Amazon within 24 hours. Okay, I get that because we kind of saw, and
they have weird categories.
They have weird categories.
Like
and then
Housewives from Potomac.
Sounds interesting. Like, again, read the back. Like, it sounds like something you might want to read. Okay, but also she won an African-American Literary Award for Best Fiction.
What?
That's surprising to me.
That does not deserve that.
Because I'm confused. Like, I mean, I don't, it's like, when I read that, I felt bad. I was like, did I not understand the book?
No.
Like, is this, did I read the wrong book?
I can't believe they gave her an award for that.
I can't believe that either. So I don't know.
Insane.
That was surprising.
Maybe she knew someone there.
on the jury.
Yes, exactly.
Did anything surprise you?
Yeah. So the fact that she pretends in the book, well, she doesn't pretend. She says that she is above the gossip. She's offended when the other pastors' wives, first wives clubs, gossip about other women. And
there's your fiction.
Yeah, there's the fiction. She just keeps talking. They're so horrible because they're just these gossips and these mean girls. And I'm like, this is sarcasm. Yeah. Sarcasm, right? Like,
because, so you had to rank the most gossipy on Real Housewives of Potomac. Who would you put at number one? Giselle. Like, she lives for gossip, and she's even said as much.
Yeah.
So the fact that, like, she pretends that this character who is her, she's like, well, no one will suspect it's me because I love gossip.
And that's actually where I was wondering. I was like, maybe this is to show us how this changed her as a person.
That could be.
I don't actually think
I don't think she was ever a wallflower to you. No. And you really can't be a wallflower to be a pastor's wife. Yeah. Like, my grandpa was a pastor, and so my grandma was like, not I don't think to the extent that all of this is, but like, you have to be really involved in everything. Like, you can't just be quiet and sit on the sidelines. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, do you have any lingering questions after finishing the book?
I wrote, no, I don't want to think about it anymore.
It wasn't like, when will the sequel come out?
Oh, actually, I did have one question.
Yeah.
In the book, she uses the word hoe, and she spells it H-O-E, like the tool. Like, she's calling like a woman a hoe. Yeah. I thought it was H-O.
It is H-O.
Okay.
That's not correct.
That's all I want to know.
No, that's confusing. Maybe that's also the fictional.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my only question was, like, why not tell your truth? Why not do a biography?
Yeah.
Don't make it so close to your own that it's confusing. I don't like that.
Agree.
Okay. Did reading the book change your view of the author or the Housewives franchise?
Not so much.
No, but you made an excellent point that I've been thinking about now for a couple of days because it had been a while since I read it, so I forgot. But she had originally said that when her dad was the pastor, right, that he wasn't allowed to be alone in a room with a married woman.
Oh, yeah.
Was that what he said? Or
well, I don't know if it was her husband, but she said that she did not allow Jeremy, her husband.
Oh, that's right. In
the room with I
couldn't remember who it was.
With a married woman.
Yes. So
I
feel like that is the subject of another show.
Another huge storyline that took a whole season.
Okay, so the whole reason she doesn't trust being in a room with Chris is because she never trusted Jeremy to be in a room alone in her real life. Like, that details exactly what happens.
Yeah, and that's not
also
fair
makes
to
it
put that
seem
on
a little.
Chris.
Like, do you think that was a little bit more formulated then? Oh, I'm upset by this.
Because it is such a very specific rule. Not like you don't go hang out with random women without me, but you do not stand alone in four walls with a person who is married. You're kind of right in how they say that.
Why not just say, I don't want you in another room with someone of the opposite sex? Like, why is it? I don't know. That's weird.
I think it's weird.
I think it's really weird. Okay. Because, like, I mean, she's just saying it's better if something goes wrong, but neither of you are married. Like, if something happens, it happens and there's a problem. Like, why does the married or not have to be the issue?
Well, the whole fact that she had all these rules, she just didn't trust him.
No, she didn't. I don't think she trusts men at all.
Yeah.
And it sounds like maybe even before this happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
The way you kind of read into it, if she had the rules going into things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's judge a book by its cover.
Yay, I love
the artwork, the title. I know this is my favorite part.
Okay. If you look at the cover, it's Gizelle, and she's got the rosary in her mouth, which they're not Catholic either, so whatever. But
oh, you're right. They're evangelicals.
It's like, I think they just thought it like looked like a necklace, but whatever. But anyway, she's kind of like got it in her teeth. Her hat is sort of dipped over one eye, and it's like dark, but it's her. Okay, so it looks to me like this would be a romance book. Like, I was waiting for maybe her to leave Jeremy, and that the fictional part would be that, like, she would meet her true love, and this would end all happy. But it doesn't. She just keeps talking about Jeremy, who we know is a jerk from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I think the cover is terribly misleading.
It is. So when I looked at it, I thought, okay, the title's bizarre, which we'll get into. But I thought the picture was even more bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's this sultry, sexy
Wouldn't you be
look.
embarrassed to read this at the dermatologist? I would.
Oh, yes.
And that's what I'm saying. So, like, it's like if I wouldn't just sit with a romance novel, even though I like reading romance novels. an appointment.
Yeah, with a rosary in our mouth in a
Right.
sexy way.
And this one is not, there's nothing to be embarrassed about reading this book, except for
And the other thing
your
is
time.
the cover is so sexy.
Yeah.
And in the book, she doesn't play that. She plays this
No.
classy
Exactly.
first lady.
No, it's a total like,
So I don't know. I think she just wanted to look hot.
I think so
And she's
too.
like, it has nothing to do with the story.
Exactly.
But I want to look hot. So you're going
Yeah.
to put a hot picture
Exactly.
in.
And it's like, well, it's not me, but I want my celebrity to sell the book, so it needs to
Right.
look enough like
Right. It can't look totally like her
Yeah.
because it's Ginger.
Exactly. Right. Okay.
So what about the title?
I don't understand the title.
I don't either.
Because why? Okay, again, why are you calling it my word?
Mhm.
It's not your word.
Exactly.
It's fiction.
Exactly.
So just call it Ginger's word.
I was like, it's not her truth.
no.
It's not like her details, her integrity,
No.
and nothing.
Or like the character says my word all the time or something.
Yeah.
Like, no.
There was nothing.
Is it like the word of God, but then
And
this is her story? So
There's
it's
nothing like she was being questioned either.
No.
If you say like my word, you're like,
right.
she was never being questioned anyway. She's,
Yes.
I
I don't get it.
I
at
don't get
all.
it at all.
And it's sort of an odd font, to be perfectly honest. If we're just going to
Oh, really? I actually like the font.
Well, I did too, but it's a little hard to read.
I like the picture and I like the font.
Yeah,
It just
it doesn't work
match
for this
the
book.
book.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Like, I wish that were a picture of me.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I wish I looked like
Yeah,
that.
no, I get that.
Not I wish my face was
That's not a
messy.
book that,
That would
was
look
confusing to other people. Fair enough. Well, I bet that no one's going to guess where we're going to go with this next question. But Real Housewives on Real Housewives, thumbs up or thumbs down? Gosh, what will we choose?
Two
We've
thumbs
been
down,
yeah.
and I want my $8 back. The Kindle book was $8. You got yours for free, so I don't want to hear it.
I do feel like I dodged a bullet there. All right, well, that is those are our strong feelings about Gizelle Bryant's My Word, Real Housewives of Potomac. Remember, housewives bring the drama, except for in this book.
And we bring the receipts.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to help support us, please share it with others and leave a rating and review. Also, visit us on Instagram and Twitter, both at RH_on_RH for fun pictures and polls, or email us at rhonrhpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and remember to stay out of the shade.